Hello there, race fans, and welcome to the URL Hot Lap. I'll be your host, Al Smith, and I'm here with John Ada, the driver of the number 97 Ada Sign Wraps Ford Fusion in the Lay Enterprises MP Roy Pro Late Model Series. And in the second chair is AJ Bunch, driver of the number 14 iRacing Memes Corvette. And how you doing today, guys?
I am doing wonderful, Al. It's great to be here, and I like you being here also, Mr. Bunch.
Yeah, I guess I've been dubbed the Banana Man for this show, so yeah, we'll see what we can do.
I was going to save that for later on, throw that in there as a surprise, but yeah, the Banana Man right here.
You guys are something else, and we got a good show coming up for you guys here this evening. First, we're gonna talk about last week's race, the Lay Enterprises MP Roy 100 at Five Flags Speedway, and guys, that was quite an interesting race.
Yeah, I mean, it got off to a little slow start with that early caution, but then once it settled in and we had that long green flag run, you could see who was actually going to prevail in the race.
Well, yeah, I think it's easy, from your perspective, being out front there, wheeling some great lap times, having a good battle up front at the beginning. My perspective, somewhat the same. Started in the rear, worked my way forward. Always have fun racing with the guys in the league. They're really great. You can lean on them. Everybody has a respect, about racing clean but racing hard, and it makes it fun. And we figured some stuff out there, marching towards the front, and it was nice when I was able to actually see that 14 car, when it came time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely would have loved to have you up there racing with us, but unfortunately, some strategy was called by the 51 and the 54, and they brought the entire field with them, so that worked out in their favor and not mine.
And that's right, Al. You had a great look at all this stuff going on there throughout the race, and what you kind of perceive there for the first half of the race.
Well, yeah, thanks for rubbing it in, John. That about after lap 4, we were up in the stands with the rest of the fans watching the race. It was pretty good. I thought the racing was intense. It kind of stretched out there, but the leaders were really close together. We had that really long run after that first quick yellow that ended up taking out a few of some good runners that have been a surprise this season. One that I can think of won the Ada Sign Wraps Wrecker Wrap Award, which was Brian Rogers. He was just kind of nowhere to go. The brakes were locked up and just slid into the accident there on lap 4 going into turn 1. But yeah, the racing was really intense, and lap traffic started to come into play, and then we had that very unfortunate incident that took out the leader on lap 43, and that escalated in later on in the race when we'll get to that point. But the racing I thought was pretty intense. A lot of people giving each other room, and was I thought a very good race for the league at going to Five Flags for the very first time.
Yeah, considering we ran 75 laps under green and only had 5 cautions, I think it was a pretty successful first race for the home of the Snowball Derby, Five Flags.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the racing was great. Al put it the right way, saying it was pretty intense. From the cockpit, it was really fun. That's what you want, to have in a league. You want to be able to get out there. You want to be able to race really close with the guys, and it's a fixed setup league, so it kind of brings everybody together. In a fact that we can really, you're really going to see a lot of close racing. There's going to be guys that are close, more than an open setup would give a lot of guys opportunities to work on their cars and kind of separate themselves out. So that being said, everybody does a great job on the most part. There's definitely some run-ins going on, but that's just part of racing. I mean, and sim racing is its own ordeal. Everybody, I mean, there's a lot of real life racers that race in the service, and sometimes they roll over that kind of real attitude that they have to the sim, and it's tough sometimes because you kind of have to kind of treat it like its own creation. It's definitely different than real racing, and you kind of have to go about things in a different manner sometimes. So, but the real racers do bring in a passion that definitely translates over into the sim racing by far, though.
Yeah, and I think that's been really good this year because we've had a lot of passionate guys going at it week after week after week, and it's just been pretty awesome to see how many of these hard chargers we've had. And I know a couple weeks ago we had 4 or 5 guys in the top 10 who came from 20th or worse starting position. So it was pretty sweet to see tire strategy and all that come into play.
And you talk about the tire strategy, and that's something new that we put in to the league this year. We got away from handicapping. We figured out that even though it's cool and brought that home track feel to it, it was causing more issues than what it was for. And we implemented the 4 extra tires in the pit road, and I'm pretty surprised, that throughout the season we've only had one person that went over the tire limit that they were allowed to, and they owned up to it in race. So from you guys as a driver, from the driver standpoint, not so much as on being part of the admin team, from a driver standpoint, has that made you guys calm it back a little bit earlier in the race with knowing that you only have those 4 extra Hoosier tires in the pits to put on at some point during the 100-lap event?
Oh yeah, it's so different from last year where you could just come in pretty much every caution and get 4 new tires. Now you gotta sit there and manage tires and make sure they can get you to the end of the run where you actually need them.
Yeah, I've never been one of those guys that's been extremely fast. So I guess it kind of has played into my hands. Um, Not only the new build, but the rule as well being implemented and having to wait and choose and try to pick out a good time, because the race starts and you have these 4 tires, and then you say, okay, well, does 2 tires work? Do I have to take 4? Is the track long enough for me to take 4 if I'm back in 14th spot when I come in? Do I have to take 2, come back around and take 2 left sides? Is 2 going to work until I can catch a caution and then come in and get 2 more? So it's definitely livened it up as a driver and made it a lot more, edgy for sure, to say the least. But I've been enjoying the heck right out of it. I really like the lift each side of the car once rule. I think that's great.
Yeah, along with that, also, if you have people who don't come in and they can manage their tires the entire race, it throws a whole curveball at the people who do come in, because those guys who don't take tires can be sneaky fast.
That's right. Yeah, they if you manage your tires and if you can drive the car comfortably and not burn those tires off and stay out, it's not going to matter if the guys are on different strategies, and some of the fast guys might come in with, say, 40 to go, as opposed to some guys before them might come in with 60 to go, and they might be mired back in a little bit of traffic, having to use up their stuff. The guys that stay out on the old tires can just kind of get out to a nice pace, and cautions granted, they can just hold on and just do what they need to do.
Yeah, it's definitely I would say evened out the field. I mean, um, it's been a good implement, and I think going forward it's been really good. I'm looking forward to the longer races once we get into the chase this season. Seeing adding the extra 51 laps or an extra 100 laps, how the 4 tires in the pits is gonna be portrayed. Where it'll be, do they come in early? Do they come in after halfway? Who's going to do what? Because that especially the longer distant races, the tires are definitely going to be much more of a factor.
Oh yeah, those longer races are gonna be a whole new aspect, especially with the fact that there's a chase thrown in there. You're gonna have the people who lay back and try to just get to 50 to go and then start charging, and then you're gonna have those guys who just want to be up front the entire race. So it'll definitely be interesting when it comes that time.
And it's going to make things exciting, which is, I'm all about the excitement. I can't wait to see what it's going to bring. I mean, these races now. I love longer races. I was hounding Al before we even got started, and I said, why can't all the races be 200, 250 laps? You know, that's kind of unrealistic as far as the expectations trying to do one of these late model races with that much distance. But I think having the 200 lap races there in the final 3 races of the chase is going to really bring some new excitement. Not to mention some guys that you might not have seen up front so far might be able to utilize some of that extra distance and some tire management skills to be able to capitalize on those extra laps that they're going to see.
And I was really surprised in practice, the speed difference between new tires and old tires. In practice at Five Flags, they really ground the tires right off of the car early when the track was clean. Once it rubbered back up, I kind of felt like tire wear wasn't as bad. But were you surprised that pretty much all the top front, the top runners came in at that lap 43 caution and put on their four sticker tires and went back out, and that's what they had for the rest of the race. I thought that was a little bit early, but with I guess the green look of the race all race long, I guess that probably was the best time to do so.
Well, considering I was a leader and I didn't come in when that happened, I thought it was too early. But when I did come back in, like 12 or 15 laps later, I ended up getting caught up in a wreck. So, I mean, those guys made the right call. That definitely right around halfway was when the right time to take tires probably was.
Yeah, that's kind of been my strategy here this whole year in every race is try to make it to the halfway point, look around and see what's going on. This past race really it definitely was it made my decision a little bit easier following everybody in. Um, but I didn't put a lot of practice in or actually pay attention to my F screens that I needed to. So I ended up coming in, getting 2 tires, jumping out in front of a bunch of guys in that first cycle of stops. And then I said, well, I better come back in and pop the other 2 tires on the left side to get caught up. And I was surprised when I came in to do that. A lot of guys had done the same thing, I think, that I did. I think we were all curious as if we were going to be able to get 4 tires on the car in the time that it would take the pace car to actually come and possibly lap us while we were on pit road still. So that gave me a little bit. I was worried about losing some spots. I came in, I think, around P10 at that point, and got that restart about the same spot. So aside from the 14 and I think the 22 and maybe a couple others staying out, I think it was definitely did not help the 14's cause. He had a bad fast car, Mister the Banana Man Bunch here. So just strategy didn't work out too well for him this past race. But I definitely agree with him. If you can get yourself in a little bit later than everyone else, and you have a fast car, and it depends on the track and the racing grooves that you're permitted, but you definitely can capitalize on the fresher tires at most tracks.
And I mean, you can't, overlook that, AJ Bunch took home the NHR Pole Award, and just by the banana peel, if you guys want to put that out
that's
there,
that's
you know,
that's right.
you edged out Dal O'Neill, who Dal has been really fast all season long, has not had probably about the same amount of luck as you've had, Bunch, but you grabbed the pole by .001 with a time of 16.254. So really close in qualifying. I mean, look at the results. I mean, the whole field separated by, just under a half a second. So the league I think, is probably one of the most competitive league seasons that we've had. I think probably one of the most competitive leagues on the service right now.
Oh yeah, that's true. I've watched so many other leagues on LSR and some of these other websites that broadcast the races, and our racing is definitely by far the most competitive because you get these other ones that aren't fixed, and you just have people who just run out there and lap at the field. And then you have our league where it's fixed, and we have the tire rule, and it just makes it so much more competitive. And the announcers have said that they have so much fun calling our races because it's always action packed.
Yes, That's right. I mean, action is what I see. I go back and I watch the broadcast. I mean, LSR TV. You got to be impressed with these guys. They're stepping up. They're bringing their A game to all of our broadcasts. Being able to be portrayed via the iRacing Live platform to a bigger audience has also been helpful in generating a lot of uprising, to people that want to get involved and learn more information about this league. So broadcasts are great. The management is great. Al has really rallied behind all of his ideas, and but it's not a dictatorship by any means. He definitely he asks. He's definitely democratic about everything, and really works to make sure everyone has the best possible chance to compete at a high level, to be exposed, and to really shine, in the spotlight that he's providing.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, John. And when we started this deal, 5 years ago, and we met and you ran with us, and at that point it was only New Yorker or Empire Stater League. Then we opened it up the year after that, and it just kept growing and growing and growing to what we have now. And everybody's like, "Well, how come you only run once a year?" Well, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, like our great sponsors that we've got this year to help bring the broadcasts out there and help with the points fund and in all the awards and everything this year. So it's definitely there that the off season. Yeah, we may not be on track racing, but we're racing to get to the track, in the fall for the season. So I appreciate everything that your company has done, and same with AJ and the guys over there at iRacing Memes. And God, we can't, you know, the season has been incredible so far. Taking a look, at just the results from Thursday night's race. Justin Fuller, became 5 races. We have 4 different winners, so we're doing something right. The competition level is pretty high there.
Yeah, and speaking about that, here, Mr. Banana Man, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown here as far as the point standings looking this far into the season?
Well, with Fuller winning 2 races, he is first in the championship points with a 12-point cushion over Nicholas Rasmussen. And Rasmussen has actually been pretty surprising this year because he has built off of what he did last year, and he's had 2 top 3 finishes the last 2 weeks. So that's been pretty impressive. And he's had 4 top 10s the entire season. Then you got Odo, the defending champion. And you got to expect him to be in the top 3. He's always a fast car. Philip Thompson, he's a guy who surprised a lot of people because he didn't run with us much last year. And he's come in pretty much just elevated his level of racing. Then you got Dale O'Neill. He's always fast in qualifying and the beginning of parts of the race, but I feel like he always gets caught up in trouble and can't get the car where he needs to at the end of the race. Then you have a 3-way tie for 6th between me, AJ Bunch, Stefan Marinak, who has only raced 4 races, and will be one of the sneaky contenders for the Rookie of the Year. Then you got Tony Manji, who's the 3rd car in this 3-way tie for 6th. Then you got Rodney Heck, who's another rookie. And then Josh Cotton will round out your top 10.
And you got some big names right there, and inside the top 10. And, Stefan Marinak coming into the league this year, first time racing with us. I've watched him race in other leagues. Very, very competitive, very smart and clean driver. He's leading the rookie, or not leading the Rookie of the Year points as of right now, but once the drops get factored in, he's going to definitely be a contender for the championship for the Rookie of the Year. But he also took home the Rookie of the Race last week at Five Flags Speedway for the Lay Enterprises MP Roy 100. So pretty impressed with that, with the driver of the 96 car.
Yeah, since he's been in the league, he's had 2 top 3 finishes out of the 4 races he's raced. So, I mean, he's proven that he's been pretty fast.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I was going to bring up the same thing about Marinac. He seems. I mean, a lot of times it seems like he starts back and he's just there. He's a threat, and it's not going to be long until you see him hoisting a trophy. And Bunchy also brought up guys like Dale O'Neill. You look back at some of the races, and he's fast, and it's just hard to believe that he's not, at the top of the points or near the top of the points. Just that bad luck that you're having, um, week after week. It just kind of drives you down, and he's still fast, and he knows that he's fast, and he knows he's going to get there, and he just keeps plucking away. And driver, I don't think you mentioned, and I'm not sure exactly where he's running the points, but Josh Cotton, another guy that's super fast, super good, aggressive racer. Just wrong place, wrong time. Sometimes the season still is early. I mean, we have, I think, what do we have? 4 more races until the chase starts, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so plenty of time for the points to get shuffling around. I know I've had a couple bad races the past few weeks before this last week, and that was, my mentality kind of changed to, let me just go back to what happened in race number 1 where I got the victory. I started in the back and just, let things shake out, got to where I needed to be, and then was able to bring home a good finish. So I kind of got back to those stages. And I wanted to bring up one more name. Mr. TJ Graves is another guy that is just having some bad luck. And I was kind of reviewing some of his incidents, and I just have to think that, he's a racer. He's really hungry. He's really aggressive. He's driving on the limit, on the edge at all times, and taking inches when inches might not be there to take. And I think, you get a guy like that who's hungry and he's got the skill, obviously. He just kind of settles in, tones himself down, and goes into the race with a mentality of, okay, let me bring something home. Let me run cautiously through the race, nice and clean, give room. I don't need to pounce on people. I don't need to make these big passes. And let me bring home some good finishes. And that will bring, the momentum I need to start racing with this vigor that I have and start capturing those top 5s that I need to get.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last week, you had 4 people in the top 10 who started outside the top 20. Or they started 20th or worse.
Yeah, I mean, our Mach 2 Management Hard Charger Award winner, Brandon Odo, started 28th. In qualifying, he brushed the walls as the lap didn't count. Got stuck in the back. He just bought his time. I would say patiently aggressive, moving up through the field. The finish, 5th. He ran out the top 5 in the results from this past week. But then right behind him, you had CJ LeVere, who started 27th. He finished 6th. John, you started 22nd, and you ended up 7th. And then one guy inside the top 10 who really needed a good run is newcomer rookie this year, AJ Hamel. I mean, he started 30th and finished 9th. So definitely a pretty good start to, hopefully some good luck going towards the number 18 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, every single race we've had this year, we've had at least one person come from outside the top 25 to finish inside the top 10.
Yeah, and that just proves, right, that the competition is fierce and the racing is just dramatic, and it's great. It's great racing if you go back and you watch some of these broadcasts, and if you have the privilege of having a replay to go through and switch to different angles and just look at what people are doing, and you get to really learn what the guys that you race around on a weekly basis do, and their tells, and maybe some of their strengths and weaknesses. And it's been great to just go back and look and watch some of these guys because they're really good. You guys are absolutely included in that bunch of guys. No pun intended, Mr. Banana Man. But it's just it's great. It's going to be great moving forward for sure. And it's a long season still left. There's still a few weeks, and then we have our Christmas and New Year break, and then we're gonna get back into it, and then have a nice, awesome chase with these longer races. And I know I'm super pumped about it, and I know that Al is super pumped about it, and I know that AJ is super pumped about it, as well as the other 28 guys that show up on a weekly basis here in the Upstate Racing League. The proof is in the pudding, and we're just stirring the pot.
Yeah, just taking a look here now at the Ada Sign Wraps Rookie of the Year standings. We got Bruce Hilton, who used to be in iRacing, and he took a couple years off, and I talked him into it over the summer to get back into it. And he told me, I don't know if I'll race with you guys, and not really much of one for fixed setups. And he look at him, he's leading the Rookie of the Year standings by 1 point over Rodney Hack, and you know we talked earlier about that first lap wreck, or the first wreck of the race, and I misjudged it, and I kicked myself, rest of the week for doing so, and but we moved past. I talked to Rodney, we're all set there, but it just proves that yeah, you can race, but it's not as easy as it looks, and but going forward, I think
Well, yeah, I
the
mean, no
rest.
one can make it as easy as AJ Bunch makes it look here.
Well, yeah, but I
Uh,
mean, he just throws banana peels out the back of his car there, John. So,
I think that's what I've been seeing.
well, I ran out of banana peels last week.
but taking a look going forward, this week we head to the USA Speedway, uh, down here in Lakeland, Florida. I guess we're down in the Florida swing, right at the moment, as we're leaving Five Flags Speedway and going just down the road a piece to the USA International Speedway, where last season Tony Manji picked up the win. So what do you guys are expecting, especially now, the sim has changed in just over a year's time, with the dynamic track and everything. We got this new build coming out today. So looking at that race and going forward, what do you guys think we're going to see at USA Speedway?
I'll be interested to see if that top group comes in because I know from racing there personally, you haven't been able to run up there and like actually contend on the high side, other than on like a restart maybe for like the first lap. But I'll be interested to see if you can hang in there for a couple laps until the guy on the inside gets loose and has to back out of it, and you can get that spot.
Well, yeah, I agree with what the Banana Man said there, and I also I think I was reading in that there's going to be the marbles are going to get picked up and thrown, and it'll affect the grip levels of the tires and all that such. And I'm not sure if that's exactly being released tomorrow or if it's going to be something that they implement, shortly after they refine it a little bit with more testing or not. But I think that's definitely going to mix things up a little bit. I really would love to see that top groove come in a little bit more. But with the fixed setup stuff that we're running here, I think it does work partially, but you really have to have a certain line to pull it off, and it's not really something that you just kind of bust in there and you run the wall unless we're at like Irwindale or another track that's where you run is the wall. So. Um, but I'm looking forward to not only next week, but just the rest of the season. Like I said, just to reiterate again, and just it's a privilege to race with everyone in the league. And I know there's going to be a lot of guys that are knocking that are going to want to be coming in. And I know Al has an awesome, um, uh, uh, I guess it's called a rookie series starting um, sometime next year. That's going to be taking place before season number 5 or 6 now is going to be kicking off next fall.
Yeah, season 6. You believe we've been around that long? I feel like we've been here forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to USA. I think I personally struggle with that track. I don't know why, because I've probably got over a million laps there. Because when you get the sim, they're like, all right, you're in the rookie series, you're gonna run Lakeland, and it seems like you're at USA every week. It seems like when you're in the rookie levels, and then you move up through and go to the bigger and faster cars and everything like that. But we definitely do love putting on a show for the fans and the drivers, and you can definitely feel the excitement as we get closer to the chase. I mean, you sit here and you look at the Chase cut line right now, where Brian Rogers and myself are tied for that 14th place. Looking forward, um, I'm only 2 points in front of Danny Dubuque. And Danny, he started off the season pretty strong. Then he's kind of gotten snake bit in the last couple of weeks, but he's only 2 points out of there. Then you got Charlie Ryan, 3 points back from there. So, I mean, look at some of the names outside of the top 14 that's for the Chase cut line. There's a lot of big names that are on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I wouldn't sleep on some names like Brandon Wilkinson and TJ Graves because they've actually been running some pretty good races the last few weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak up there and just barely get in, and then if they do, let's see what they can do in the chase.
Yeah, I feel a little bit comfortable. I think I've got like a 12-point advantage right now over the cut line, sitting in P11 in the standings. Just going to have to go out and do what I did this last week and just run a smart race, get some good finishes, and then go at it when the chase comes. But also, this new track, Southern National Motorsports Park or Speedway, is coming out, and we're going to be replacing our South Boston visit, unfortunately, with this new track in 2 weeks' time. And what is your main exciting thought about that new track going to it? Everybody's going to be going to it for the first time, limited experience, and just going out there and running hard.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be whoever wins that race is going to be top dog there for considering it'll be the first race we've ever had there. Just like Five Flags, Fuller did a heck of a job winning the first race there. Yeah, I'll be excited to see if there's multi grooves, if it's how much brake you can get away with using. If you have to back up the corners, if you can full out charge on the inside of somebody coming to the checkered and make it stick. There's just a lot of unknowns that'll we'll have to wait and see play out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The track's located down there in Kenly, North Carolina. So for us boys that are we headed back north for the holidays, it's kind of on the way back home. So they said, why don't we go there? We were sad that management with South Boston didn't really work out, and but we're really excited to switch it over and go race at Southern National. 4/10 of a mile track, and I watched some videos on online of the actual racing there, and it looks like it could be two grooves. It's really high banked in the corners, with the progressive bank in the straightaways are a little bit banked. So I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm kind of hoping that the racing will be good, and I think it's going to be an equal terms track going into the 2 week break, because not a lot of people are going to have a lot of laps there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited. It's like, yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be like Christmas morning, like 2 or 3 weeks early, for me, and we'll get out there and, well, knowing how I am, I'll get the track and I'll go run a limited testing session of about 5 laps and say, wow, that's going to be fun. And then you won't see me log into that track again until Thursday night when the server opens for that race.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that your account only has activity on Thursday night.
I'm pretty sure it does too, honestly.
But yeah, so we're looking forward to that, and anything as we get ready to wrap up this first hot lap for the first edition of the URL hot lap. We did get put in kind of a tough situation with an incident under yellow, and we didn't really publicize it too much. We talked to the drivers and all that, but tempers did flare a little bit last Thursday at Five Flags. Um, but hopefully we don't get put in that situation again. It was Charlie Ryan and Tony Manji uh, kind of disagreeing about that wreck on lap 43, and it just kind of boiled out throughout the race. And then it was an unfortunate situation, but both drivers have gotten 2 caution points added to their total and are on probation to the end of the year. We hated to do it, but at the same time, we don't want the integrity of our league and in the sport of racing. we can't allow that kind of actions.
Yes, I mean it was a situation tough pill to swallow. I mean you've got a leader, you've got a lap car, but you've also got two sides of the fence. It's racing. Everyone's racing hard. Everyone's racing for inches. Racing incidents are bound to happen. Uh, Tempers are bound to flare. It's just part of the sport, and I mean, it was slightly a harm, slightly a foul, and everyone's going to move on. I know that Al has spoken with both drivers, and everyone's totally understanding, and everyone's on the same page. And we've actually gone ahead and flipped the page onto the next chapter, and it was one of those racing incidents that you'll see from time to time when people that are passionate and racing in a very close competitive league are gonna showcase their true colors, and they're gonna show how passionate they really are.
So I mean, like you said, it's water under the bridge now. Um, but I just wanted to just let everybody that's listening that we did have to take some disciplinary action, uh, towards the drivers, and they were pretty much for the main point, okay with it. Little explanations and a few conversations, but I don't think we'll have any more issues going forward. And I think everybody, just the heat of the moment, like you said there, John, and um, we definitely didn't want to have to do anything, but at the same time, we can't, turn the eye on that. Um, so both drivers will be on probation to the end of the season. And if they had two clean races, which I mean, I don't expect. Tony doesn't ever really get into too many incidents, so I feel like he'll bounce right back, and same with Charlie. But until next week, it's been fun, guys. Hopefully the listeners enjoyed our little banter, and next week we're gonna try to get the winner uh, from USA, from the NHR 100 from the USA International Speedway, uh, to be on the show next week, and maybe a couple other guests will stop into the studio. But for John Ada and AJ Bunch, I'm Al Smith, and we'll see you at the racetrack.